I believe I may have seen black shuck, or a similar creature with similar implications, during a trip I took to the British Isles. Be me, around 17ish, extreme jet lag, could not sleep at all. Check clock, 2 a.m. Decide fuck it, get up, wriggle into a pair of dirty cargo pants, slip on sneakers, leave house. Now, this was a little cottage in the countryside we were staying in, and there was a lot of hiking tracks around us, so I put 2 and 2 together. Decide to trot down to the nearest trail that goes down the side of the house and into some nearby unknown woodland. Jog was actually very pleasant, track well kept, and, super ironically, it was a clear night with an almost full moon, so I was not running totally blind. At the end of the track is a cliffside that overlooks the ocean. Decide to rest on a rock there for a little while. Start to get very cold and decide again to head back. Get up, turn around. Keep in mind that I can see a fair ways up the track from where I stood, although poorly lit from the amount of foliage. A few meters from me, just back from the little slope that leads to the cliff, stands a very large, very shaggy, wolf-looking animal, just standing there, not doing anything. Looks like it has hundreds of mats in its fur. Only one eye catches the light with that weird, nighttime reflection color that animals have. Freeze. It takes a few steps forward, makes no sound. Take 1 step back. Remember, I'm next to a cliff. Also thinking to myself, oh brilliant, this is how I fucking die, isn't it? It steps into the light slightly. Weird glowy mess around it. Can't really describe the color. Weird mixture of red and green maybe. Lowers its head. Opens its mouth. Fucking ear-splitting noise comes out. This wasn't like a howl or anything. It was like an unholy, cacophonous mixture of children screaming, unchecked train / car brakes whirring, forks scratching along porcelain plates, and glass shattering, but amplified by like 10,000. Curl up, clutching ears. Noise suddenly stops. Ears feel like they are bleeding, ringing very loudly. Look up to where this thing was. Not there anymore. Decide, okay, fuck this entirely. Full on sprint back to my house, never looking behind me. Thankfully, I never heard anything chasing me or anything. Get back to the house, extremely out of breath. Brother, who is also up due to jet lag, asks what the fuck happened. Catch my breath, take a shower, share what happened with him over early breakfast. My face went, he thinks I'm full of shit. And that is pretty much the only vaguely spooky paranormal shit that's ever happened to me. A weird thing to note is that my grandfather passed away not a month after that. Not sure if connected. There was one Anon who worked at an Alaskan tower and told a bunch of weird stories that took place. Anyway, the one that stood out to me was him going out into the woods to off himself and being talked out of it from someone, which by his description sounded like Odin from Norse mythology. I was wondering if anyone had heard of similar interactions with deities. I only sort of have a related story. Not sure what to make of it, but it basically went like this. Getting sued for $20,000. Too long to get into. Soon after, I discover my GF has been cheating on me. Then I lose my job. Fucking stressed and heartbroken. I wake up randomly in the middle of the night. My heart is racing. The devastation of my breakup suddenly gets to me, and I begin to sob. I ask God why he is allowing this to happen to me. I don't even believe in God, but in the moment, I felt so helpless, I did not know what else to do. I beg God to help me. Suddenly, I feel a presence in the room, and I see what looks like a giant face hovering above me. It is totally expressionless. I pass out. Next day, I am taking an Uber to a job interview. Before dropping me off, the Uber driver tells me he has a message from the Lord. This was after driving in silence the entire way. Driver says that I need to remember that we are all connected, and that he knows I have a good heart, but I need to humble myself more. Weird as fuck. I don't even know what to say, so I just tell him I appreciate it and get out of the car. Job interview goes okay and I leave. Decide to go for a walk before heading home. Maybe look for some other places that might be hiring. Find a bike trail that leads through this beautiful, natural area. Never seen it before. Guy is sitting off the side of the trail and he gets up as I approach. Looks homeless. Asks if I have any money. I never give homeless people money because I always assume they'll use it on drugs. Plus, right now I'm broke. Give him money anyway. The man takes the money and says, "The Lord is going to bless you," and hurries off. Get a call that same day. Got the job. Get a call later that week. My lawsuit has been settled. I owe nothing. Be me, 9 years old at the time, going home from school. Get to an intersection. It's red for the car and green for me. As soon as I step my leg forward, I feel two things, being yanked back violently, and something brushing past very fast in front of me. Turn around and see a blonde lady, still grabbing onto my shirt. She keeps yelling at the car who almost just crushed me. Don't remember what I say, but she gets on her knees to face me. Says it should not have happened. Says she is sorry and that I have things to do still. Says someone will need my help. Suddenly alone in front of my house, which is a 15-minute walk away from where I was. Don't think much about the ordeal. Years later, I tell my mom about it because I thought it was a dream. She tells me how one day, I came a bit early from school, crying and babbling some story about getting hurt, and a lady helping me. She thought I was being bullied at the time. My face went. It was not a dream. Another experience, at least 5 years ago. Having a fight in school. Be freshman, year 7. I think that's grade 8 in America. Crowd of year 9s around. Win first round. Kid knocked down. Tried to leave. Year 9s push us back against each other. This kid somehow finds the strength to lift me off of my feet by grabbing me around the legs. Feel something weird, like anger but different. Blackout. No memory of what the fuck happened. Come back to, staring at myself in the male toilet mirrors, grinning. Creeped the fuck out by myself. Leave toilets. Mob of people coming towards me. Anon, why the fuck did you do that to Anon? Confused. Thought I lost fight. Blood on knuckles. Go see the nurse. Anon is there. His lip and nose is completely busted. What the fuck? To this day, I still have no idea how it happened. I was told I did it, but I have no memory of it. The only thing that makes me believe that I did was the bits of blood on my knuckles. Here is mine. Be me, some years ago. Be hanging out with friend after a disastrous bowling multi-date. We are both bored and disappointed at the mall. He lives somewhat close. I live a little bit more far away. Want to go to my house? We can leave you at yours later. Pretty good deal. After a little walk at friend's house, greeted by his mom, stepdad, bro, and sis. They show me around. At Big Bro's room. They joke about if I want to sleep there, to meet some old fuck whose name I can't remember. What the fuck? Then my friend starts explaining that he was like the previous owner's dad, and that he still lives there. Then they all talk about how this dude is known for scaring specifically men while sleeping. Big Bro goes on and says, yeah, actually, the first night I stayed there, I had sleeping paralysis 8 times with nightmares. He has like some big job event the next morning, so he actually booked a hotel because of how shitty sleep can be at this room. Friend confirms this and tells me the same happened to him, but 12 times. Then they said that this entity does not scare women in the same way. What do you mean? They go on how women can actually have a good sleep at the room, but when they are left alone in there, they have hallucinations/breakdowns. Big Bro says he once invited GF over, and she was in his room while everyone was outside. To put you in context, this house is not very tall, so you could clearly see what happened in the windows. Then he explains how out of nowhere, she started to cry her eyeballs out but could not move. Sister came quickly to the room to see what happened, and GF broke down, explaining how she saw something that was scaring her but could not describe it. At this point, I was intrigued, but we had to leave because it was somewhat late. In the car, they told me more interesting stories that my friend's family had, anything ranging from another entity living with his mom to how the mirror keeps falling with no reason to. This one is a mild haunting, more just annoying. Same and on. Here is another story that happened 3 years ago. Be me. Be an apartment I suspect is haunted because of creepy feeling something is in closet. Always feel like something is peering out of it, watching me. Always keep closet door closed. Best part is the same wall connects to the shower wall, and I feel watched while showering. Fucking perv demons. Ignore feeling, and never look at closet too long, or stare at it because of horror movie logic that maybe as long as I ignore it and convince myself I don't see it, maybe it will keep activity low. One night, be sleeping in bed next to GF. Get woken up by GF making noise in sleep. Groggy, and hear her sound like she is trying to yell with her lips sealed and shaking me with her shoulder from her squirming in place. Realize she is having a night terror, which I recognize quickly because my dad suffered from them his entire life. Shake her and say her name loudly. She is shook up and scared. She says she felt like something invisible was holding her down. First and only night terror of her life. She always asks to sleep on the side of the bed, furthest from closet, and says whenever she sleeps on that side, she has had bad nightmares. Feel bad for her, but don't tell her about Thing, because I don't want it to overhear us and know that we are disturbed by it. Start having dreams of me floating above our bed, wrestling and punching a man-shaped thing made out of black smoke. Thing gets upper hand. Start shouting Jesus' name and praying. It recoils. Nightmare repeats a few weeks later. This time, when Thing starts winning, I start praying and calling for Jesus again. Bros in a tag team match? Stumble prayer and lose train of thought. Make mistake of feeling pride in my power instead of give credit to God and start feeling pride I am making it leave. As soon as I feel that and my words fumble, it lunges at me in the dream. Smoke enters my body. Now I don't sense it in closet when awake. Fuck. Activity has stopped, but now my anger issues have gotten worse. For some reason, have to force myself to read Bible, even quotes. Feel reluctance and emotion it is boring, or thought I don't even want to finish reading Bible quotes, when I've always loved the Bible and God. Pretty sure possessed by asshole ghost / possibly demon. About to go to church for the first time in 5 years next week, and moving out this year, hoping leaving property will break bond to the ghost, or rejoining a church will get it to fuck off. You will see my Fred asking for exorcism help later if it fails. Not really a wood story, but a creepy one nonetheless. Be me, last year, 19 years of age. Go on road trip with friends into French country. I'm a Canadian maritimer. Get to campsite about 11:30 p.m. in June. Try to set up tents. Only me and another friend know how to do it. Entire time, feel weird about the spot. Very thick feeling of dread. At 2 a.m., we go out to the beach to find shells, because we are smart like that. Going on, acting like morons. Get shells, go back to campsite. Feel like something is very off, but I can't figure it out. Everyone is as normal. Feel like we were followed in the dark. Don't sleep at all. Lay there awake from 2 to 7, all the while hearing the normal stuff you do while in the woods. I think around 4 a.m., I hear something outside the tent. Sounds human. Make weird noise. I don't know if I was very overtired to try and scare it off. Seemed to have worked. Next day, don't tell anyone about it. Go back to beach. See our footprints, shoes, and them bare footprints along with ours. They brush it off. We go into the dunes. There was a biohazard sign for blue-green algae, but whatever. We were feeling edgy. Find creepy as shit little campsite, a makeshift shelter, and what clung to my bonkers the most were the footprints. 7-toed footprints leading from the dunes all the way into the woods that come to our campsite. Fucking Dune, man. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. Anybody have a good story about weird or troubling things they found while searching a house/compound? Could be Leo or Mill, or whatever else if it's good enough. I am a probation and parole officer who carries a sex offender caseload. Sex offenders and domestic violence offenders receive warrantless home searches at least every 90 days per policy. Most of the home searches are simple walkthroughs, but sometimes we have to be more thorough, especially if we know or strongly suspect that something is off. I had a new officer with me, and it was his first time doing a real search of a residence. He had some puncture-proof gloves on at first, but took them off for some reason or another. Not a big deal, because the guy we were dealing with was not a junkie, so getting AIDS needled was unlikely. Then he reached into the guy's sock drawer and grabbed 2 poop-covered dildos with his bare hands, not realizing what they were until he had them out and had a good look at what he was holding. That was some funny shit. He had to go to the hospital because the sex offender had hepatitis and a host of STDs. Alternatively, several ghetto sex dungeons and a lot of CP. My favorite sex dungeon was the one done up like some shrine to a rhinestone cowboy singer, and the room was covered in portraits of the guy. In the dead center of the room was a bench that the guy bent people over and fucked them on. He was actually a good case, chill guy, and never caused any problems, but I still think he murders hookers in his spare time. A lot of times, we search a house because the sheriff department or local cops ask us to. In my state, we are sworn state LEOs as POs, whereas in some states, POs are just glorified social workers. We work closely with local LEO because we don't have the time, manpower, or structure to investigate new crimes or offenses. But we have an absolutely massive amount of power over offenders, so we can leverage that against the ones that are actively fucking up. Case in point, we don't need warrants to search, and that means that we don't need probable cause. We just have to articulate a search is reasonably related to their supervision, and if they refuse, they can be immediately arrested, and the refusal can be the basis for a search warrant. Don't feel too bad about this, because in the population that we deal with, everything other than diversion-type sentenced offenders are already convicted of a crime, so there is no moral quandary here. Anyway, we went out on a guy that the local sheriff department thought was involved in a murder. They didn't think he did it, but he had pawned some stuff that was stolen when the guy got killed, but weren't ready to blow their load on the guy yet. He was a parolee, only out for a month or so. He lived with his parents, an extremely autistic brother, and a very large parrot in a fairly nice house in a rural area. Anyway, he shared a bedroom with his brother, and they shared a closet. In the closet, we found normal stuff, clothes, old toys, odds and ends. However, we also found an ammo can with some 22s and 410s. Personally, in a case where it's probably just old shit or another residence, I typically just tell them to get rid of it, or to keep it in another person's room if they are nonviolent, as even a misdemeanant probationer cannot have weapons. But this guy was involved with a homicide. The detective who was with us then called the ATF, who proceeded to tear down the guy's shed, dismantle his car, and knock several holes in the wall of his house. Anyway, we found some prescription pills that weren't his, and some paraphernalia, a bong and a grinder, some residue, which was enough to arrest him on. The parrot was screaming, The autistic brother was crying, and there were probably 20 uniformed law enforcement officers at this guy's house, all because of a few 22s and 410s he probably didn't even know he had. No funny ending or hook there, but he ended up pleading out. They threatened gun charges for the ammo, but it was weak as he shared a room with his brother, and he took a rap for selling a bunch of shit he stole from the dead guy. He did roll over on one of the guys who actually did kill the victim, and that guy crashed into a tree and died when they tried to arrest him. How did you get into your line of work? Education background, military. A pulse mainly. A 4-year degree is a strict requirement in my state. If you work for probation and parole in any state where they have real power, and you aren't a black female or absolute total pussy, you will very quickly find opportunities to do a lot of cool stuff. In 7 years with my agency, I've gotten general instructor, so I could possibly jump to any state agency without issue, certification, all sorts of active shooter training that I could never imagine using at my job. I make decent money running the house arrest team for my county, lots of overtime and on-call pay. And while our policy is that we don't kick indoors, we come extremely close to it often, and if you get a reputation as enjoying absconder searches, you will get to arrest a lot of people. It is a surprisingly decent job, so long as you choose to make it one, and aren't a pathetic loser who lives behind your desk and calls someone else to handle every arrest that comes across. Don't even consider it in a state where POs are a local, county, or city level position. There might be some exceptions, but you'll probably be pretty much powerless there, which means you bitch a lot and do nothing, then feel even worse when a judge lets your criminals loose again. That said, the paperwork is beyond heavy. You will spend a lot of time in court, and while it's generally not the hardest work in the world, your time management skills have to be good, because you are juggling a lot of appointments constantly. My first dead body was interesting. Call out about a dead guy. Wife came home from a weekend trip to her husband dead. Dispatch mentions he was ill. Was in field training at the time. My field training officer figured it would be a good starter dead body call since it hadn't been rotting in the house for days, and the guy, we assumed, died from natural causes. Foreshadowing. Show up. Wife is outside, hysterical, with neighbors surrounding her, trying to comfort her. Walk in. Weird smell throughout the house. She said he was in the chair in the backroom study. Go into the backroom study. FTO has me going first. Holy fuck. This dude blew his fucking head off. Car pistol still in his hand. Bullet did not penetrate his skull. Skull was deformed from the shot. Fairly clean actually, but fuck, that was not what we were expecting. Turns out, the dude was dying from decades of alcohol abuse. Decided to take himself out before the painful ending while his wife was gone for the weekend. Turned it over to the coroner and detectives, wrote up my incident report, and noped the fuck out of there. And that's why you always ask dispatch to clarify what kind of death you're dealing with before you roll up and get there. More like what the cops stumbled upon than me. Old 4chan days, Project Chanology period. Met a bunch of local Anons, formed a friend group. One of them, a furry named Ruckus, sold weed. Ruckus hangs himself. Everyone is sad. We hold a party in his memory, where we intend to smoke the last bit of weed he sold. Someone tosses a can of Axe in the campfire outside. It explodes. We are near downtown of a somewhat major city. Bunch of us leave, go to a nearby convenience store for snacks. Never hear sirens, so walk back. Before going back inside, girlfriend tells me she wants to fuck in a car. Commence fuck. Look up. See cops pointing guns and pointing at the car from across the street. Okay, don't panic, babe. We're gonna put on our clothes. Cops will knock on the window when they get over here, and we'll just say we were having an argument, so we went to the car to talk. Cops knock on the window. Girlfriend opens the door. What seems to be the problem, officer? Girlfriend is yanked out. I step out. See AR-15. Oh, That's not just a cop. That is our city SWAT team. They tell us to go across the street and start asking us about a possible kidnapping situation at the home. Flashback to a few hours ago when someone was streaming the party to a 7-Eleven Chan IRC server. I know someone is swatting us. SWAT team gets ready to raid. German shepherds out on front lawn and everything. I call stoned friend inside. Tell him SWAT is coming. He thinks I'm fucking with him. Laughs and hangs up. Cops figure out there's no kidnapping. Gather us all downstairs. We see some young looking faces here, and alcohol. We're not gonna ask to see IDs. We see there's marijuana paraphernalia out in the open. You kids have a safe night. And then they hung out upstairs for like 15 minutes with the guy who lives here, Googling swatting videos and having a giggle. Anyway, stumbled on drugs, underage drinking, and 2 people fucking in a car by the street. Let me finish before knocking, and basically said, none of this is SWAT's problem. Europol here. When I was a small child, our parents would send us to our grandparents with German-sounding surname. I bear the same. My grandpa was kind of a rough, burned-out man with light blue eyes. I never really connected to him. He had a tough life with a lot of low-salary jobs, so I guess it really shapes you. Of course, all kids do is explore. I sneaked into their attic and other storage areas. We were generally not allowed to do so. Grandma would just be happy if we were out with their neighbor's kid, or sit in front of TV while loading us with sweets. But a few times, I managed to do so, and once I found a handgun. I was too small to recognize it, but I'd swear it was a fucking P08 or something very similar. Too scared to steal it, but when I wanted to take a proper look at it a year later, it was not there anymore. Once, I found like 4 flags with red edges, rolled and wrapped in a newspaper. I wanted to see them, so I almost started to unroll them. But they found out, and I got scolded. Until this day, I don't know whether the flags were red with yellow sickle and hammer, or red with white circle and black kreuz. I'd think the second, because of his Aryan look. Hell, on his wedding picture, he looked like Heydrich. But apparently, my grandpa was kind of a communist. But it's difficult to say, since he just hated everything when he got old, and his democracy that come in 90s was just too much for him. So he became really bitter and was like, oh, I wish the commies returned. They would not have allowed this and that. What is, I guess, most of the old people thought. To this day, I did not tell anyone, neither my siblings nor my father, but I guess I will at the nearest family reunion. Sorry for quite a long text, with not too much really interesting. Not my story, but was told this 3-ish months ago by LEO friend that responded to it. Wellness check called in. Show up. Buddy answers door. Explain the visit. Buddy says, fuck off. Ask him where his spouse is. Say she left. Less than a minute later, she scuttles out a hallway to the kitchen in the back to get some ice for her shinner. Explain to Buddy that lying is bad, and ask Miss what happened to her eye. Buddy chimes in before she lets out a word. Tell Buddy nobody was talking to him. She explains he hit her over an argument about work clothes and money for detergent. Ask her to walk us through the story. Buddy gets taken outside. She walks back to the garage/laundry room to explain the story. Walking down hallway, an open door catches corner of eye while passing by. Looks like a bad dragon horse dildo museum/armory. Racks upon racks on the walls, stacked with 200 plus massive dongs. More dongs than wall. Taken aback for a second, Mrs. notices and kindly explains that is her husband's room, and then closes the door and finishes heading to the garage.